In early 2024, a group of Houthi rebels in Yemen started firing missiles at cargo ships passing through the Gulf of Aden in the Red Sea.
Within weeks, some of the world's biggest shipping companies stopped sailing through the region entirely.
Ships that normally took 2 weeks to get from Asia to Europe were suddenly taking 4.
And within the blink of an eye, factories as far out as Germany and the Netherlands started running short of components.
Not because of war at their doorstep, but because of missiles being fired 6,000 kilometers away.
Now that's global trade. And once you understand how it works, you start seeing connections like these everywhere.
G'day, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sherry. Welcome back to Put It Plainly,
The show where we cut through the jargon and explain the world's biggest ideas in plain English.
Today we're going to show you a system so large, so old, and so invisible that most people live inside it their entire lives without ever noticing it.
Let's put it plainly.
Now, humans have traded for thousands of years. Silk, spices, salt, gold, you name it. Ancient trade routes crossed deserts, mountains, and valleys long before anyone thought to draw a map.
Then Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic in 1492, and what followed was centuries of exploration, discovery, and conquest.
The old world met the new world.
New commodities, new markets, and new trading networks.
These changes over the past 500 years made the sea far more central to global trade than land.
Global trade, as we understand it today, really started to take shape after World War II.
Countries opened up their economies, governments lowered trade barriers, and let goods flow more freely between nations.
The underlying idea is called comparative advantage. Every country focuses on what it produces best and trades with others for everything else.
Australia, for instance, exports iron ore, wheat, and gas. Japan exports cars. Germany exports machinery. South Korea exports electronics.
By specialising in trading, everyone ends up better off.
Today, the world's biggest exporters are China, the United States, and Germany.
And the biggest importers? The same 3 countries.
The nations that make the most stuff also happen to consume the most stuff. Now, here's the part most of us never stop to think about. In 1956, an American entrepreneur named Malcolm McLean had a simple but revolutionary idea.
What if cargo was loaded into standardized metal boxes that could move directly between ships, trains, and trucks without unpacking and repacking at every step?
Before that, loading a ship was slow, expensive, and labor-intensive. Goods were loaded piece by piece.
McLean's container cut the cost of shipping cargo by something like 97%.
That single invention is arguably the reason why global supply chains exist at all.
Right now, there are approximately 100,000 cargo ships at sea, carrying enough goods to fill Sydney Harbour several times over.
But before anything gets near one of those ships, something has to come out of the ground.
Whatever you're wearing right now, the cotton, the dye, the zipper, the elastic, you're wearing stuff that came from about 6 countries right there.
And the coffee or tea you had this morning, the cup, the lid, and the drink itself, that's another 4 or 5 countries.
Every single one of those things starts as a raw material, and getting it from the ground into your hands is a process most of us never think about.
Geologists survey the land and companies apply for licenses. Governments collect taxes and royalties. Then comes extraction, drilling, mining, and harvesting.
Then there's processing. Raw ore becomes metal, crude oil becomes fuel, and plastic and cotton becomes fabric.
Then comes packaging, containerizing, and shipping off to the final destination. This journey involves engineers, operators, and logistics specialists every step of the way.
The next time you look at a grocery shelf or pick up your phone, remember that this entire process made it possible.
Largely invisible and doing its thing from the other side of the planet.
And that's how modern supply chains were born. Take a laptop, aluminium from Australia. Processor designed in California, discs made in Taiwan. Memory chips from South Korea, assembled in Vietnam.
By the time the end product reaches the store, a dozen countries have played a role.
The average smartphone has components that have collectively traveled further than the distance to the moon before it reaches your hand.
Companies built these networks for one reason: efficiency. Make each part wherever it's cheapest and best, and you get better products at lower prices.
And to maximize that efficiency, companies adopted just-in-time production.
Instead of stockpiling parts in warehouses, components arrive exactly when needed on the factory floor.
It saves money, but it means there's almost no buffer when something goes wrong.
Now, in 2021, a global car shortage cost the industry $210 billion in revenue, all because of a chip the size of your thumbnail.
Around 90% of world trade travels by sea.
3 companies, Maersk, MSC, and Costco, control a huge chunk of the world's container shipping capacity.
But it doesn't travel randomly across the open ocean. It flows through a handful of narrow passages.
These are called choke points, and if any of them is blocked, the whole system clogs up.
The Strait of Hormuz carries around 20% of the world's oil.
The Suez Canal is the shortcut between Europe and Asia.
In 2021, one ship, the Ever Given, ran aground and blocked it for 6 days.
That held up $9 billion of trade every single day it was stuck.
And in 2024, as we mentioned at the start, Houthi missile attacks 4 ships off the Suez route entirely.
They rerouted around Africa, adding 2 extra weeks to travel time and pushing costs through the roof.
The Bosphorus is the only outlet from the Black Sea.
Ukraine's grain exports pass through it, meaning food security for the Middle East and Africa depends on a single narrow channel.
The Strait of Malacca handles 40% of global trade.
If it closed tomorrow, Japan, South Korea, and China would start running out of energy within weeks.
Then there's the Panama Canal. In 2023, a drought forced it to cut the number of ships allowed through.
One drought, one canal, prices rise around the world. That's how fragile this system actually is.
So what's actually moving these routes? First, energy, oil and gas produced in a handful of places, the Gulf states, Russia, and the United States, but consumed literally everywhere.
A disruption to any of those sources ripples through every economy on Earth.
Then food, Ukraine and Russia supply a huge share of the world's wheat.
When Russia invaded in 2022, food prices spiked almost overnight. Countries in the Middle East and Africa that depended on that grain faced food insecurity almost immediately.
Then there are critical minerals, lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth elements, 17 metals essential for EV motors, wind turbines, and electronics.
Now, we'll do a full episode on rare earths, but for now, just know that they matter enormously.
Australia is one of the most important countries in the world for these minerals.
But China controls the processing of most of them.
The raw materials come from Australia, Congo, or Chile, but China refines it, giving it enormous leverage over the entire green energy transition.
Countries are now starting to push back, keeping more of the value chain at home. And then there are semiconductors. One company, TSMC in Taiwan, makes around 90% of the world's most advanced chips.
Phones, cars, medical equipment, and guided missiles. Taiwan sits 145 kilometers off the coast of mainland China. For decades, the assumption was simple. The more countries trade with each other, the less likely they are to fight each other.
That logic is now being questioned.
In 2025, the US announced sweeping tariffs on dozens of countries.
Global markets went into freefall overnight. The US and China have both been using trade as a tool of statecraft. Export controls, tariffs, bans on specific companies.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, Western militaries found they couldn't produce artillery shells fast enough.
Because decades of offshoring had hollowed out domestic manufacturing, including for defense critical materials.
That's a direct consequence of the globalization story we've been telling.
The new goal isn't just efficiency, it's actually resilience. Governments call it friendshoring, moving supply chains into allied countries rather than the cheapest ones.
It's less efficient, but potentially a lot more resilient.
Now, for Australia, that's part of what AUKUS is all about. Now, one more thing. Global shipping produces around 3% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, more than aviation.
The system that connects the world is also a significant contributor to the climate problem.
The industry is under increasing pressure to decarbonise, which is another reason the global trade system is in transition.
So let's bring it together. Global trade lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. It gave consumers access to cheaper goods and connected the planet.
But the system that made all of that possible is deeply fragile and deeply interconnected.
A canal in Egypt, a drought in Panama, missiles over the Red Sea, chips in Taiwan, minerals in the ground in Western Australia.
All part of the same story. So the next time you fill up your car, buy a new phone, or notice your grocery bill has gone up,
that's not just a price tag. That's the end result of the most complex logistical system ever built by human beings.
a system that spans continents, employs hundreds of millions of people, and is under more pressure than it's been in decades.
Global trade isn't just economics. It's the nervous system of the modern world.
And supply chains are the pathways that run through it.
Thanks for watching.
If you found this useful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.
Until next time.
Stay curious,
And let's always put it plainly.